whereas the Zulfikar Ali Bhutto comes out in a very positive light as champion and a brave fighter for democracy, but he was the first one to immediately basculate that constitution of 1973 by declaring an emergency and bringing an amendment. What is your take on this issue? Ms. Huzaiba Bukhari, if you could please.
I have a, can you hear me? Yes, I've just
Yes,
unmuted
sure.
myself. I will
Yes.
try to put the video on, but our net system is so bad, that along with the video, I don't think my voice will pass through properly. So, well, you have raised a very serious issue about the Constitution. And if you have noticed over the period of time, this has been mutilated pretty badly at the hands of politicians who were never actually abreast with the policies of this country. And as far as Mr. Bhutto is concerned, yes, he gave this country a 1973 constitution, but unfortunately, at the beginning, he was too overwhelmed by the religious bigots, and which has now culminated in fundamentalism and a lot of problem, discrimination with the minorities and all that stuff, declaring a particular segment of the society infidels and all that stuff. This was not a democracy per se, like the true face of democracy did not contain all these things. Democratic norms are very different from the current constitutional position. And yes, Mr. Hassan has rightly criticized a lot of things in the article. I went through that. But unfortunately, what I've noticed is, like many of my students also ask me, that when you put these articles and these writings, what are you trying to provide to the nation? And my answer is that in civilized countries and in civilized democracies, in the true sense of the word, academics are looked towards for providing some basis for proper policy making. And if you notice that all these things were made, even the constitutions were made quite whimsically. I mean, they were not done with the proper academic or legal perspective. When these things after
Huzaima, unfortunately, your voice is dropping.
Which very have my voice.
I don't know
Okay.
about others, but I can't hear it well. Or you have become inaudible.
Well, am I audible now?
Only bits and pieces are coming, but we can't
Sorry.
hear it as a coherent sentence. Do others can listen to, or it's only me that's hearing a problem?
No. I think there is some connection with the Huzaima side. Just
Okay. Huzaima, can you try again? I think she's still there. Yeah. No, it's okay. For a better voice quality, if you need to switch off your video, it's fine.
Yeah, I've switched it off.
Yes, now it's much better.
Okay, all right. So that's what I was saying, that such deputations and these kind of discussions are important, because all those governments which are in power in civilized countries especially turn to the academics for to chalk out their constructive policies, well, of course, for the purpose of development, growth, and for providing the people with a secure and better life along with justice. But unfortunately, like I was mentioning, that when these things are not done at at an academic level, and we have politicians, who come to power without the relevant know-how, then of course, you cannot imagine the type of policies they put forward. Mostly is based on their own self-interests, how to come back, regain power. It's never about providing the necessary fundamental uh, facilities and benefits to the people, but it is more of how to make short-term, policies that will give them the ability to return to power. Now, that's very horrible, because right now, as you can see, the present situation, we are a highly indebted country at the moment, and we cannot afford to take further debts. Yet, we are trying to lure the youth by providing them with laptops and all that stuff, which we don't even make in our own country, uh, for which we have to get extra loan in order to provide these kind of benefits. These short-term policies are never going to be sustainable, and they will not even help the country to grow further. Providing, then there are a lot of other things which are done by the governments without taking into consideration, the real need of the country. So the real need of the country is economic growth, as rightly pointed out in this entire book in various places. But how do we teach them? When will they learn? And if none of these politicians will read these articles or read these books, how are they going to ever provide a proper long-term sustainable kind of policies for this country? So starting from the constitution and starting from all the different laws that were enacted under the constitution, I'm sorry to say that they have become a kind of a messy kind of entanglement, in which everybody is now looking towards some kind of a messiah who can really clear up this entire mess that is at present lurking in the country. So, well, I'm afraid I don't know who the next person will be and how they will even work properly under this in this present constitution with all its amendments and all its confusion. As you can see, even at the level of the Supreme Court, we are still not clear about so many things. So if these people are not clear, then how can you expect the people to respond positively to all the enactments which are made without considering the real issues in hand? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Uzema. You are right that whatever is happening in Pakistan these days for more than a year, uh, in fact, even the having a constitution is almost become meaningless. But anyway, we'll come back to these issues, and probably perhaps Dr. Ikramul Haq may enlighten us later on these issues of constitution making process in Pakistan and what we have and what we have not. There are issues in the book, Professor Yaz, relating to the discussions on different articles about the economy of Pakistan, and particularly Hassan Bilal's article. And I think that perhaps if Kaisar Bengali had joined, it would have been better for him to comment on it. But I would like, if you would like to enlighten us on few things, what Hassan Bilal has said in his article, the very brilliant article, what explains Pakistan's development dilemma: under allocation, underspending, or underperformance. He has given a whole list of different types of foreign assistance Pakistan has been receiving through USAID and other, including now lately of CPAC, the Chinese debts Pakistan has taken, and it's now talk about total of about 130 billion US dollars. And he has made a very apt remark at one place that the main challenge lies not in the proportion of resources that it employs, but the effective and efficient management of these resources. And I recall Dr. Samia Altaf writing a whole book about so much aid, so little development. The very sorry state of affairs in Pakistan, how so much aid comes in, but we don't see any impact on the ground. How would you like to comment on this? That simultaneously, Bilal has talked about another aspect of Pakistan, and there are many other economists who talk about, and is about Pakistan being included, for example, by Goldman Sachs in the next 11, with likes of South Korea, Mexico, Bangladesh, Egypt, Indonesia, Iran, Nigeria, Philippines, Turkey, and Vietnam. And the reason they include Pakistan as a emerging country is the total retail spending close to only about 116 billion in 2013 was projected to grow about $210 billion in 2018, and the total consumer spending is projected to about $334 billion in by 2018, with the per capita consumer spending to increase from $995 to $1,685 per person, which has been as estimated by Deloitte. So Pakistan, eh, on the one hand, is receiving so much aid and nothing is changing. And as Jennifer has talked about, that on the social indicator level, Pakistan at almost reached to the bottom of the worse than many of the African countries as well. Whereas we see, on the other hand, a spiraling consumer spending as well, and prospects of a very enlarged middle class coming up. So how do you explain it? Would you like to shed some light on it?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. First, Kaisar Bengali is in Sakkar right now. So he might be
Okay,
having the internet access problem. That is
okay,
perhaps he is not there. He told me that he will be in Sakkar and try to connect from there. Coming to your questions, it's very interesting and important to understand that there are four levels of underperformance by the government or the state sector. One is under allocation, which means that at least we should have 4% going to education or 4% to health if we want human and social development to progress. And that is not done because our tax to GDP ratio has almost hovered close to 10% of GDP, which should be at least 20%. So that is one level of underperformance, and that is one battle that people of Pakistan civil society need to fight. But that is at the highest level. When we come one step lower, there is also underspending. Whatever is allocated, not more than 50% of that is spent. Over the years, we have decades of data on this. So government of Pakistan almost spends 50% of the budget it allocates. So due to bureaucratic incompetence, complications and procedures, due to other issues, that is a second level of underperformance, that you don't spend the money you have. And very interestingly, here I want to bring in civil society also, because why I have tried to connect with this, that indigenous giving in Pakistan, the size of indigenous giving is double the size of government spending in Pakistan. So civil society actually is playing the role of a welfare state that should be played by the state. State has turned into predatory states. The third is, from underperformance, you come to underutilization, underspending, you come to underutilization. Whatever has been spent, it is not utilized. That is why you see thousands of ghost schools and thousands of ghost health centers. So that is third level of underperformance. Fourth level of underperformance is that whatever is utilized it is providing services below the quality. Even the schools which are functioning, their teachers, they cannot put two and two together, mathematics teachers. So the quality of education is very low. So my case for civil society is that if And civil society has done an amazing job. For the people who don't know, there are at least 14 Pakistanis who have received Ramon Magsaysay Award, which is called Nobel Prize of Asia, for doing trailblazing work in rural development and education, health, provision of microfinance without interest, skill development, healthcare, all these things, even micro health insurance. And the tragic thing is that majority of the people like us in the chattering class don't know about it. We know those anchors and whatever they circulate every day or social media. No one talks about it. So if civil society and ordinary people need to take control in a strategic way, they need to start where they are closest to the power structure and where they can make the difference. And that is where underperformance in provision of low quality of services comes, whether it is education, health, microfinance, infrastructure, all those things. And there are brilliant examples of people who have done these things in Pakistan, which I have documented elsewhere. But my coming book is going to be about this. I have interviewed up to 30 people and very, very remarkable stories where they tell the nitty gritty how to fight. So that is number one. Then you go to the higher level. What happens wrong is, especially with donor funded and contractor NGOs, they start at the top. They immediately want to go and topple the power structure, by making demands for which they can't do anything. So they need to organize communities around the immediate issues at local level, gain experience, make inroads in the power structure. The brilliance and success of civil society is that they are instead of having frontal collisions with the power, they made inroads in the power structure. They found their sympathizers and supporters, and in Akhtar Meet Khan's language, they worked as solicitors. They made the case for improving the services, which will look good for these government employees also. And then, bringing an end to this confrontational situation. Here, to sum it up, I would mention another very, very interesting formulation, which is done by Adil Najam. He said that the relationship between the state and civil society, it should be looked at as a Cartesian space, where we see ends on the one axis and means on the other axis. So he said if the ends and means are similar, then there will be cooperation. That is where most of the civil society have done great job, organization. If ends are same and means are similar, then there will be collaboration. Government has funds for education and NGOs are following among the people. They build trust with the people. They can bring public oversight. That helps them. It will be collaboration. If ends and means both are different, opposed to one another, then there will be confrontation. That is a third subspace. And if ends are dissimilar, but means are similar, then there will be co-option. So when we are looking at civil society and the possibilities that exist for cooperation between civil society and the state, that framework we need to have in mind. We need to start from the first quarter where ends and means are the same. Then go to ends are same and means are dissimilar. Then go to third one. Then ends are different and means are common. Then go to the fourth one. We don't need to jump to the fourth one right away. So this is a separate subject in itself, but that shows that there's so much space for the civil society. I have found amazing things. I mean, Huzaima has mentioned about constitutional mess that we are in, but there are people in civil society who have got legislation passed without being member of the parliament, knowing the whole procedure. So knowing the power structure, connecting with the insiders, doing your homework. So there's Fawzia Saeed on the one hand, who carried out this legislative work, very brilliant, and there's Parveen Rahman on the other hand. For 33 years, she was sitting in the largest Kachi Abadi of Karachi, Orangi, And she created the maps of all the informal settlements of Karachi, which is almost half the population, and all the villages in the vicinity of Karachi, and got millions, of poor people, urban and rural. She got them the ownership rights by single-handedly that work. She sacrificed everything, her career as an architect. So in civil society, this is a work which needs long-term commitment. You work very inconspicuously, you work consistently, and you do solid work. And Parveen's only tool for her work with which she achieved remarkable results was mapping. And that is the line she used, we are all ninja turtles of mapping. And because of that mapping, unfortunately and tragically, on 13th March 2013, she was killed by the water mafia in Karachi. But we all need to become ninja turtles of mapping. We all need to know our reality. We all need to know where we are. What is the level of fight? What are the tactics needed there? What is the strategy? And how to find. I think this, to take this opportunity, this was ignored both the left wing and right wing cadre parties who had ideologies, but who had no understanding of how the system works. And we need to pay attention to them if we want to bring about the change. And that is why we are civil society and political parties who want social transformation. They need to come together, and political activists need to learn from them. I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fayaz, and thank you for mentioning those people who have done tremendously valuable work. And perhaps, in my opinion, the torchbearer was, as you rightly said, Akhtar Hamid Khan. And if I am not wrong, he was perhaps the first recipient of Rahman Magsaysay Award from Pakistan. And his very able students and successors like Shoaib Sultan Khan and Parveen Rahman from Aurangi Pilot Project and Khan Rural Support Program, and also Dr. Yunus in Bangladesh. Uh,
Arif
so
Hassan.
they were Arif Hassan. Dr. Yunus was his student as co-worker in his Komila Academy, and Dr. Shoaib Sultan Khan was also. So they are the people who were the torchbearers of this different type of pathway, which you have rightly mentioned in your book also. And I would urge everyone to go through that. Before we open our discussion to a general question and answer for last and allocate last 45 minutes to that, I would like to raise one point out a important observation you have made in your introduction. And a very interesting remark you made, which is again not usually found in the narrative of Pakistan's left and progressive liberal Democrat intellectuals and journalists. You have said that, and I quote, majority of the people in Pakistan are committed to the ideal of an Islamic welfare state and consider it to be more just and fair than a political system based on Western democratic values. But they vote for secular parties. And in this connection, I'm also aware that you have recently wrote an article in this very month of October, Muslim Iqtisadiyat or Chand Bunyadi Sawalat in the monthly Almi Tarjuman al-Quran magazine. In it, you have raised very important issues of market economy, central planning, and interventions for the control of the market and prohibition of interest and riba. How would you like to shed some light on this aspect also before we open this forum for a general question and answer?
Yeah, I think it's very important. Most of the time.
Yeah, that's why I raised this issue.
Yeah, in common narrative, you ask people, there are people who have done work on philanthropy in Pakistan, scholars outside Pakistan. Two of them I know very closely. They have written books on this. that if you talk to any person, they will say that we want an Islamic welfare state. But they don't want to pay taxes to that Islamic welfare state. They don't trust the state. They want, people who serve uh, humanity and serve the public, but they don't vote for them. Like Eid is an icon of people in Pakistan. He was the third person who got state funeral. From state to the ordinary people, everyone. He is an icon for everyone. But he lost. He won. He contested and he lost elections so many times. So we vote to secular people. We vote to people who are predators, and we give our money to the people who are in civil society. So what is the conundrum? What is going on here? It needs to be understood. Now here I want to bring attention of my friends to the modes of what we call so-called class struggle. There have been three forms of struggle about which not much attention has been paid. Traditionally, people who are conformist, who follow the power brokers, they follow what I call Deradari. Most Imran Khan used the word electables for them. Who are electables? Electables are power brokers. They sit in their offices and they do the work of people who come to them on case by case basis so that they can have pattern client relationship with them. They don't want to done it on a general scale. I'll give you an example. There was a federal minister during Ziaul-Haq's time. One day he went to his office and he said to his secretary, he said, I have heard that you are going to contest election from my constituency. He said, sir, how come? I am not a politician. I have no ambition. He said, everyone who comes to you for some favor, you do his work. Who will come to me? If you want me to win the election, don't do anything for them. Let them come to your office 2 or 3 times, and then they will come to me, and then I will ask you, then you do it. So this is called Deradar. This is how the whole system is working. And they've kept people under their thumb. And our people also, they think they are the guys, not the Eidi or Akhtar Hamid Khan or someone else. Second form is, but even these Deradars, I want to point it out to our audience here, that Pakistan has two economies. We don't call them two nations, but two economies, formal economy and informal economy. So we all see all this crisis, this mess, this cry about Pakistan is sinking, and ordinary people, they're still surviving. What the hell is happening? They live in the informal sector. Their jobs are security, jobs, credit, they're all provided, healthcare by the informal sector. So how does informal sector work? In the common jargon, they are known as uncivil society. But they have done much greater service than the people like us championing class struggle or the Deradars. And I use the word which is used in Punjab, Chatti Dalal, for them. All kinds. If they have to go to court and police, there's no one to lead them, there's no leadership, there's no political party, no Deradar, then Chatti Dalal come, they are, power brokers, they get some money from them, pay some to the police, keep part in their pocket, and get their job done in police station. Same is happening in the case, these poor people of Pakistan, when you mention these names, both of us forgot Tasneem Siddiqui, who became Director General of Kachi Abadi Authority, and who led to officially regularization of land for these shelterless people who lived in
The creator of Khuda Ki Basti.
Yeah, Khuda Ki Basti. But these people, almost, I should say 10 million or more, who live in these Kachi Abadis, this land was provided to them by land grabber mafia, who are much more bright and brilliant than our bureaucrats, who came up with the scheme. They would grab the land, divide it into plots, bring people over there, give them credit, give them all the assistance in building their houses, and incrementally they receive their money back. So these chatty dalas, land grabbers, and same is being done in the case of electricity. They are kundi brokers who steal power, sell it to poor, and keep part of money in their pockets. So this is a second form of struggle, where since we believe in law and morality, whether left or right, we don't consider it as a legitimate form of struggle. That was the only option left to the poor, and they have done that. What people like Tasneem Siddiqui and Akhtar Hamid Khan did was that they took it from there and they regularized it. Legally, they made it legal and brought them under the legal blanket so that as citizens they can receive. And third form of struggle, which has been led by civil society, and many people have not recognized its strategic importance, is this is called the work of panchayati, who builds bridges. Because the biggest, I think, factor missing in Pakistan in the path of social transformation is there is deep level of mistrust between the citizen and state. People are afraid of entering the government's offices or building bridges with the government officials and finding how to work with the government. And Parveen Rahman offered some brilliant insights on that also. She said, when you go to the government office, connect with the people who are at the lowest level because their heart is close to you, their circumstances are closer to you. They're not transferred and they are not under pressure by the people at the top. And they will share all the information with you. So there are these three forms of struggle: Deradari, Chatti Dalal, and Panchayati, which is done by civil society. So we need to open our mind and see these three options. And to my mind, civil society offers the best option. The reason we have reluctance in accepting the importance of their work is because they acquire power without seeking power. And for us, revolution or social transformation can only come through seeking power. So that is the conundrum we need to understand. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And perhaps you would know that Pakistan's total economy size is roughly about $350 billion, which is not much. But the what you mentioned, the informal economy, now by all estimates, the informal economy of Pakistan has exceeded the formal economy. And these two worlds of economy put together brings us about $700 billion worth of economy. That makes the country still going. Anyway, now we are left with about 40 minutes of our estimated total projected time of 2 hours of this event. And that I would perhaps it would be better if we open the questions. If the participants, which are now currently 20 on my screen and maybe some more on Facebook, which Waqas may tell, those questions may be responded by the panelists and those who have contributed to the book.
Kamran, there are also few questions in chat box. If we can start with them, we have 5-6 questions in our chat box.
Yes, I have noted that. There are some comments rather than questions. If you wish, I can read those comments also. While we talk about ruling classes and how policies have from the very beginning made for the benefit of these ruling classes have siphoned the wealth and deposited abroad. So is it not right that these brown sahibs ruling classes are true successors of British colonial Raj and the current government system is the successor of the colonial era working for a few? Fine. It is projected that by the time Pakistan is 100 years old, its population will near 400 million. To me personally, the number doesn't make that much importance. The main issue is how we manage it, whether it's 1 million or 100 million. Does Pakistan even have a long-term socio-economic policy? So these are most of the observations. I don't find a question here.
There is a
What
one
happens?
question. There is one question coming from. It's, if you can see from Rashid Omayo from America.
Tariq Majid, Iftihar, Tariq Bashir, Iftihar, Asad Zadi. Can someone clearly describe the current
Can I just say that
definition
Rashid
and
Samayu is here?
situation?
Maybe he can put his question himself.
No, I found it. There are two. One is from Asad Zadi. Can someone clearly describe the current definition and situation of the civil society that is relevant to Pakistan today? I would direct this question to Fayyaz. And before Fayyaz, you start, there is another question from Rashid Humayun. And there is any possibility to make changes in current economic system, or we are looking something else? Perhaps Dr. Ikram can respond to that. So first come to Asad Zaidi's question. Can someone clearly describe the current definition and situation of the civil society that's relevant to Pakistan today? Yes, anyone?
I'll do that. Before that, I want to address this comment that if our brown sahabs are successor of
Okay.
Colonial masters, the
Okay.
problem is not that. The problem is that us as subjects are also behaving like colonial subjects. The thing is, we need to take power in our own hand. We need to find the ways. I have already told you that uncivil society and civil society both have charted their path to make social changes. It is incremental, it is gradual, it is non-confrontational, and it is happening. How much significant it is or it is not is something different. Coming to civil society, it's very, very interesting. Aga Khan, during one of his speeches in Kabul in 2007, he made a very interesting comment. He said, civil society is achievement of public goals by private means. So whether it's individual, as organization, you are working and you are devoting your private means to achieve public goals, then you are in civil society. And reversely, if you are using public office for private gain, this is corruption. So this is how the two interplay.
The question, Dr. Kram, although you are a lawyer, but you are a corporate lawyer and you are working on those issues relating to taxation, which is closely connected with the economy. So would you like to take this question? There is any possibility to make changes in current economic system, or are we looking something else? It's from Rashid Humayun from US. You may perhaps, if you would like to respond, Dr. Ikram, you will have to unmute your speaker. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. This is very fundamental question that in constitutional political economy term now, we have to see what the Constitution of Pakistan says about the economic system. We have all the progressive ideas there for the fulfillment of fundamental rights of the people and precisely what we all call welfare state. Article 4 is very clear, and 3 is very clear that gradually all kinds of exploitations will be eliminated and everyone will be provided a job and will be paid accordingly. I think the fundamental question is that we need to change economic system according to the constitutional precepts we have. But for that, as Fayaz Baka has repeatedly emphasized, that it is a struggle which civil society has to lead, because the negotiation with the elite to gradually give rights, they will obviously not just all their privileges, but gradually they have to shift their policies more towards people. And it happens if there is sufficient voice from people, there's sufficient effort from civil society. So obviously, the main issue in Pakistan is that we need fundamental structure reform because the overall structure is elitist. We all know about that, that they have all kind of purposes, they have all kind of allocations. Even funds that we borrow or the money we get from abroad is ultimately for their benefit. So this will have to change, and the center of economic system should be welfare of the people. So I will say that obviously we are looking for a fundamental change in economic system and nothing else. Thank you.
There is a comment and a question from Iftihar, and I would like Fayyaz, if you are there, to respond to that. Can the current approach, that is civil society charity work, which you have talked about in your book as also, adopted by the panelists, have any evidence of success in transforming any society in the world? That's the question. So I think you are the better judge to respond to this.
Civil society's work has to be judged in what specific area they are working and what they are working on. It is very well documented, and there are thousands of reports and case studies available on that. Civil society's way of working is different. They don't aspire to take power and start changing things by using power at local level. They start at local level, they build their areas. Akhtar Hamid Khan used to say, islands of hope. So they create islands of hope here and there. And he told people who showed interest in his work, and he said, you have to make your own island. So the work, if you want to know, to go to these 14 Ramon Magsaysay Award owners. They have cited what these guys have achieved, but they are only 14. There are many, many more in Pakistan who are doing this work. They're doing it very silently because they're not contesting for public office, and they're making changes in the lives of the people. And a big part of them lives in the informal economy. And informal economy is not that well documented. But these people are making changes. Whether you agree if it has any significance or not, you want to support or oppose it, that is personal decision. But it is documented. There are thousands of reports available on that. They don't claim. Yeah.
I would add only one point. You have rightly responded to the question. Not only it is very well documented in Pakistan as well as the other parts of the world. I would say only that as comparison, whatever it's worth, whatever it was the achievement the civil society has with people like Dr. Yunus, Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, or in Pakistan, there are many people, Akhtar Hamid Khan, Arif Hassan, Shoaib Sultan Khan, Eidhi, and others. The contribution they have made, only 1% out of those is far greater and bigger than those who have adopted other means for bringing about a revolutionary change in Pakistan. Their entire contribution in the last 75 years put together is far less than the contribution of only 1%. So there is another question has come up from Sohail Manzoor from Lahore.
Yeah, it's on Facebook.
It's a very, it's on the Facebook.
This question came on Facebook.
It's a loaded question, and any one of the panelists and their contributors may take it. Army generals are the main hurdles. How to deal with them? And the second question is why there is a lack of activism by civil society. And
if you allow me, Kamran, I can.
Yes, sure, please.
The thing is, Army general is not our problem. He did not need permission from army generals or Akhtar Hamid Khan or Parveen Rahman. It is, figure of imagination. I'll give you now a specific example, whether they're relevant or not, what should be done. In northern areas of Pakistan, 3 districts, Chitral, Gilgit, and Baltistan. Aga Khan Rural Support Program started work in 1982. And this was so distinguished, so different. And I was attracted to them because with Mazdoor Kisan Party, I used to work with the peasantry, peasant organizations. And I was amazed at how responsive these communities were to our rural support program compared to our work. So it got me interested, and then I went and worked there. William Easterly has mentioned that all the aid that Pakistan received from 1958 to 1988 or 90, if it had just deposited in the bank, it would have multi-million dollars in savings. And, so we have so misused the aid that we have received. Our Khan Rural Support Program, it also received support from donors. There were 100,000 households in that area who were supported, and in 10 years, their income was doubled. At that time, Shoaib Sultan Khan's work was recognized by Ramon Magsaysay Award holders, and he was given Ramon Magsaysay Award. And through Ramon Magsaysay Award, Nawaz Sharif got to know, oh, there is something happening. Someone has done such a remarkable work, and he picked up the phone and called Shoaib Sultan Khan. We are still far behind. So he did that. When he did that, 10 years after that, he was invited by United Nations Development Program to mainstream this program to entire South Asia. So South Asia Poverty Alleviation Program was starting in Andhra Pradesh, and India's Minister of Rural Development, he said that we have learned poverty alleviation from Pakistan. It was mainstream to all the states of Indian Union. We don't know about these things. Second person, you look at Jamil Yusuf's work on crime bashing in Karachi, Citizen Police Liaison Committee. He was invited by Indian Intelligence Bureau twice to train their officers. So these are not, it is not charity when you talk of civil society, it's not doling out, it is investment in human beings and institutions and alleviating people's, the level of living. Please go in depth and look at these things. They don't beat drums about their work, but they have done remarkable work. I mean, we are at loggerheads with India, but India is recognizing the work of our people in crime bashing and poverty alleviation, and they are inviting our experts to India to go and teach them. Shoaib Sultan Khan did it in so many, and then it spread. So please pay attention to this, go and learn more about them. They have done a remarkable job. I have given these examples to make the point that we have, I don't know what idea of changing the system we have, but this is the way they have changed the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Fayaz, explaining that. And Zahir Baba has added a good point that citizen foundations education work is also a good example of activism by civil society. There are so many others. There are innumerable initiatives. They are not certainly have changed the face of Pakistan, but they have changed the lives of many people. And it is not suggested perhaps that it is the end all, but this is only a beginning in that direction. And if there are other more valid and more feasible options available, surely we should all look at those things as well. But just rather than spending time in romantic sloganism, it's better to do some concrete work as well. Anyway, there is a again, Iftikhar's question. So what's the role of state in modern times in a country like Pakistan? So Dr. Ikram, would you take this?
Thank you. Role of state is, of course, to provide primarily not only a better law and order situation and enabling environment, but also to provide social services. So the role of state is very important, but as I was mentioning earlier, as far as on paper, we have role of state well defined in the constitution. But of course, we see deviations from that, sometime gross violations as well on the part of state machinery. But all these things we should keep in mind that in countries like Pakistan, the problem is, as we have been mentioning, that institutions in Pakistan, they have not undergone decolonization process. And unfortunately, because of that, the delivery system, as mentioned by Fiaz, that even when there are allocations of funds, the utilization and the output is very poor, the quality in quality term. So therefore, the role of civil society is very important, that they should keep raising their voice, they should keep telling people, they should keep educating people. So there will be a pressure on those who matter in the land that they should change these institutions from the perspective of delivery system. We have all, not that we are a scarcity of resources, but how distribution and allocation and best utilization. For example, we have youth bulge, the largest, perhaps one of the largest in the world. But how to train them, how to provide, impart skill to them, that requires a challenge where civil society, for example, some of my friends are working on this, that in rural areas, they should use mosque and other places to go and impart training to them on 3 and 4 hour basis and many other initiatives. So not that people are not aware of these challenges and they are not doing something. Obviously, there's always room to do more and more, but there are initiatives, and I keep on listening from my friends that what they are doing. I also keep on working with Taxpayer Alliance, so they should try to have a just and equitable tax system. So this is a process in which you have to make a lot of struggle, but you should believe in struggle and you should do your best for that. Thank you.
There is a subsidiary question from Rashid Humayun again, is that how civil society will change the system, and I would like Huzaima to comment on this in the light of your and Dr. Ikram's experience with Taxpayers Alliance and your charter of tax reforms. You have been quite active in those areas. So how would you suggest civil society can make some changes?
Uh, that's an interesting question. Well, I think in the first place, citizens should realize their own responsibilities, right? We are so much now, dependent on what the government is going to do for us, that we have forgotten what we should be doing for the government as well. So when you talk about taxes, well, the first thing is that they should be paying the taxes truthfully, honestly, in time, and following the rule of law, right? So when you see the traffic, for example, now the government is not driving those vehicles or the cars. It's the people who are doing so. And if they're violating the laws, then how can they expect that there will be peace or sustainability in the society? So in the first place, I think we should realize our citizenry obligations under the Constitution. We expect a lot from the government, but we should also respond by putting in our good role as proper residents of this country, and be faithful to the country in this sense. So generally speaking, reforms of course are needed, but those are again at the institutional level, as mentioned by everyone here. And on individual basis, the civil society, well, people are form the civil society. Civil society doesn't come from the moon or from some other country. So we are the members of the civil society, and we should also behave like a civil society. But unfortunately, even our attitude is pretty, questionable. So it's I believe it's a two-way traffic. I mean, if when the government is not providing, the citizens are also responding by kind of rebelling in a way that defies all rules of law. So, well, they need to be more organized. And I believe one thing very honestly, that there's a lack of local governments in our country. That is a fundamental base for providing benefits to the lowest among the whole system. And when the local governments are absent, obviously there's going to be chaos, because on the level of the local government, it's the people who can manage their own affairs in a more effective manner. And you have noticed that many democratic governments have come into power over the last 15, 20 years, yet there is no proper local government that is in order. And if you take Sindh as an example, you will notice how horrible the situation is there about the administration and the way the people are suffering, because of there's nobody they can turn to, and that is not right. So in order to motivate or to make the civil society more active, proactive, they should be local governments. So that is something which only the government can provide. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Zema. Perhaps, Jennifer, you may like to add here with, in the light of your experience of working with civil society in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Sri Lanka, and other places. How would you like to comment on this question? You may need to unmute your microphone. Yes.
The civil society and the rule of law and what the government is doing, it has to be in tandem with each other. When we talk about the civil society, yes, there are a lot many initiatives taken with them. Somebody just mentioned the Citizens Foundation. Talk about Shaheen Atikur Rahman. She's running more than 300 schools in the Punjab. Talk about, I don't know if a lot of people know about this. This is Developments in Literacy, DIL. The entire budget or the money for running more than 120 schools in the marginalized areas is coming from the diaspora in the United States and elsewhere. So while these initiatives are taking place, what is the government doing? Somebody had mentioned about the anarchy that goes on. Where is the governance system? How can we just blame the civil society for doing what they are? They are not paying taxes and what have you. There is no governance system. Are the people in the government actually abiding by the rule of law? Is there a rule of law in this country? So the basic question is that how do we steer the entire population and Pakistan per se in a direction where we have that trust in the state, where we know that the system is working, where we know that if there is a wrong, that wrong will be addressed. I can't see all this happening. So the problem is, while we are talking about the civil society, and I, to a point, agree that the civil society alone, there can be a silent revolution, but this has to be institutionalized if you have to run a state. So when it comes to the institution level, what is our judiciary doing at the moment? Who is going to have that kind of a faith and trust in a judiciary? Now, we're talking about people who have a lot of backing from different sources. how does a common man, sort of agree to it? How does a common man see the judiciary? How does a common man feel when, this people are being ghettoized, people are being marginalized, and they know that the resources are not coming to them. They know that corruption is so endemic. So what Fayaz was saying, yes, I mean, there are initiatives at the grassroots level. These initiatives, like I had also mentioned, we need to generate alliances at this grassroots level. But this needs, you need to marry the macro with the micro. And therefore, people who hold the power also need to play their role. Somebody said, how do we get rid of the military? That's a $1 million question, because they are the ones who've been ruling this country since its inception, on the forefront or behind the curtains. There has been no democratic or an elected party that has been ruling. The strings we know have been pulled from somewhere else. And when I talk about the foreign policy, that's where the main problem is. The foreign policy is being controlled by the military, and they will not let go. And therefore, we end up fighting other people's wars. I just feel that, Pakistan has been used as a watchdog in the South Asian region. What are we doing for our own people? We are just, I don't want to say this, but, the kind of military aid that we get, we were saying that there's so much aid that comes in. Development aid, where is that? I mean, what are the strings attached to the development aid that we get? Now, this is something that Fayaz, where are you? Fayaz can...
Fayaz is here.
Yeah. So, I mean, how are we investing in our own... is anybody interested in what's happening to the country within? Are we talking about, becoming an ally to the war on terror in Afghanistan? What have we achieved? What have we done? Why are we doing this? And why are we not focusing on the people and their welfare? Look at the educational institutions. How many, we have umpteen number of ghost government schools. Nobody pays any attention to them. We're not looking at the quality of education. And if we're not looking, look at our hospitals, the government hospitals. That is the only venue where the poor person can go for treatment. Just go and see. They're swimming like worms there. Nobody's getting any attention. And when we talk about population, yes, population growth can be an asset to any government. It is how you sort of manage your government. And Akram, your question was, yes, but where is our management? Where are the policies that are directed towards the welfare of the people, to human development, who are in turn going to churn out the capacities that they build, the skills that they attain to contribute to the development of the country? There's a disconnect. It's not happening. And therefore, these are the kind of issues that we need to address. I'm sorry, yeah, in my book, I've written a lot about the military aid that we've been getting and why have we been getting that. There are vested interests. One wants to, sort of move away from that now and actually focus on what are we capable of as a civil society. We've seen what the governments have done. We've seen all these politicians, what their interests are. Who is looking after the interests of the people, of the common man? I mean, when you go to the grassroots level and you see the sufferings, human sufferings, it's heartbreaking. And why? And these governments, they are put in place to look after the welfare and the human development of their own people and not to fight other people's wars. So this is where I think Fayaz and all of us are trying to bring back the focus on. Care about what they are doing. There has to be a silent revolution in this country. 75 years, time and again, we see what is happening. And there is no no deviation from the vested interests that those few people who are in power are. Look at the military expenditure. Look at the giant structure that the military has come up with. Islamabad is full of their structures. The schools are so well kept. I mean, talk of the military GDP allocation to the military, and we are not even now talking about how much of money is spent on sustaining these structures that they have built up, the kind of investments that they've made in the public, and they are the ones who are benefiting from them, not the people. So these are the Fayaz, you will take on to that. And these are the kind of issues that we want to focus on, that the civil society has to take over. And there are examples. What we are asking for is to now form alliances within at the grassroots level. And let's see how the government responds to that. They are very capable. Sorry, they are very capable of educating people in the private schools, the schools that are run on the philanthropy of the generous diaspora and other people within the country. Their education is far better than what you are taught at the government schools. What are we teaching them? We don't even know what our history is all about. It's all convoluted to the benefit of those who are ruling. The strike, what the realities are. People have to have that cognition. People have to understand, have that sense of analysis and decide for themselves. And that is why we talk about rights and entitlements. You don't give them education, you don't give them health, you keep them at a bay where they're, sort of living at that poverty line and thinking of nothing else but how to survive, how to cater to their day-to-day living and where to get the food from for the next day. This is where we have intentionally put our population to. They don't want people to think. And the problem is that, and I've been saying this for such a long time now, Pakistan has to hit the rock bottom, and I think it is now. That is where development will take place. And the realization, I must say, the former government did give some political awareness and political acumen to the people. People have now started to know what their rights are. And they have been pushed to the point where they are going to exert their collective effort. So education, health, and everybody knows, and even the West knows, that the two founding pillars of development are education and health. Now, when we talk about the population, and Kamran, you raised this point, yes, population, and like we said, is an asset. I mean, so much contribution by this large base of the population can be made to the development of the country. But remember, China had to put a one-child policy there. India had that, where the child before born was killed. How do you call that, the name? Fayaz, what is the name? I don't remember that. So
Infanticide.
Yeah. Now the thing, why did Benazir Bhutto and earlier, Pakistan perhaps is the only country where we had a ministry for population control, and we had population control policies. When you don't cater for the people, when people are being, are popping out, and they're like, left as orphans, what do you do with this population? So one has to understand. Yeah.
Thank you,
Jenny. I'll put an end to it.
Thank you very much for this valuable insight. Our time is now coming to end. We have only few minutes. Fayaz, as an editor of the book, which we had been reviewing tonight, would you like to offer some concluding comments?
Thank you so much. I think, it is an order. I was thinking of that. I think one thing I need to clarify is that none of these civil society organizations aspire to capture power. So if we find them a failure in capturing power or showing us the way to capture power, they don't claim that they want to do that. So that's a, we can still, we have very valid reason to believe that people should capture power. That is important. Secondly, what we are contesting here is, it is very interesting to note that the most revolutionary and most conformist people believe in the same thing, that change can come through capturing power. And power dictates whatever happens in society. So they are the people who think that we can disregard power, make it irrelevant, and still carve the path to meet the goals that we want to achieve. But it doesn't mean that struggle for political power is irrelevant and it is not important. What we are saying here is that political parties also need to learn from civil society organizations how to muster support among the people. What has been done by the so-called uncivil society or civil society, the scale is enormous. People don't understand this. If 10 million people received the housing rights, and in the entire northern areas that doubled was income was doubled in 10 years. And if there's so many, you talk of Seema Aziz, who provide education to the poorest of the poor. She said, I studied at Etchison and we teach Etchison's curriculum in our schools. And her target is to reach out to at least 1 million people. We are not saying that civil societies are answer for everything. They're not an answer for capturing power. And we are not belittling the importance of capturing power. What we are saying is that their method of working with the people and bringing about changes is something to learn from. But it is our individual choice whether we want to go for this or not. The purpose was to draw attention to this. Thank you all of us for joining us and paying
Thank you.
attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for everyone. And it's now 2 hours and our formal program is closed. And thank you, Fayaz, for making such a good effort to bring out this book. And thank you for all contributors like Jennifer, Dr. Ikram, and those who are not here today, and Huzaima is coming as a panelist. We were unfortunate that Dr. Kesar Bengali could not have joined. Otherwise, we could have discussed in more detail economic aspects of the issues. So thank you once again for everyone. And we may close the program now, or we may continue informally.
I will stop live streaming and maybe we can continue after that. I'm going to stop live streaming.